Evening, everybody. Welcome back. It's Past the Rock on a Monday night, May 9th. There's basketball, there's hockey, there's baseball. Maybe we even say a little football or something like that. Jesse, I can tell you, Podna's picks went 1-4 over the weekend with some huge losses by the Suns and the Heat. So, how was your weekend? I know both of our teams are out when it comes to basketball, but in when it comes to hockey.
Yeah, definitely surprised. Was hammering the Suns and the Heat on the weekend, and if you tailed us, your pockets might be hurting a little bit right now.
Yep.
But at least we got two interesting series in the East, and we got some developing ones in the West. But we're going to talk about that all a little later on in tonight's episode because we got a new face sitting with us right now.
Yeah, we have a special guest tonight. Lost Tribe Athletics is your home for Jewish everything sports, right? And so we've signed some Jewish athletes from across North America, and we want to introduce the world to Zach Sprung. Zach, thank you so much for joining us. Tell us a little about who you are, what you play, and where you play.
First of all, thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it. Currently, I'm a D1 ice hockey player here at Drexel University. I'm originally from Smithtown, and I've essentially been playing hockey my whole life, so it was kind of a no-brainer to continue it throughout college. And then actually I saw the video put up when all the Lost Tribe athletes were put up in Times Square. One of my good buddies was put up in Times Square, so that's how I got involved with Lost Tribe Athletics.
Nice. So if I'm a Drexel alumnus, which college do I hate the most?
I don't know. That's a good question, and I've seen a lot of developing rivalries as of late. It seems with Delaware between our men's lacrosse team and our men's basketball team. It seems that Delaware is the team to beat.
Okay, the Blue Hens. You don't like the Blue Hens, and Jesse, can you name a famous Blue Hens quarterback?
Not off the top of my head, no.
Okay, well, I figured there'd be somebody out there, but is that not where Jimmy Garoppolo went? Or am I dreaming that up? That might have been Eastern Illinois. I'll look that up while we ask the next question. So, Zach, where did you first hear? Oh, you told us where you heard about Lost Tribe Athletics in Times Square, which is a pretty big moment for Jesse and I as well, as we got to see our face there. What does it mean to be a part of a group of Jewish athletes like Lost Tribe Athletics?
I mean, for me, it's something that's huge because, quite frankly, early on, my Judaism was never something that I was really proud of. I got picked on for a lot, actually, when I was a kid. So when I first found out about it, to kind of just see this community of Jewish athletes all coming together over the common thing that, hey, we just all are Jews and we're in this together, I think was something huge for me, an opportunity that I jumped on as quickly as I possibly could.
Awesome. And Jesse, just the answer to the trivia question was Joe Flacco, by the way.
Legend.
And Rich Gannon. So what was the first moment that you knew you had a chance to be a special athlete, Zach? Like, what was that moment, either as a kid, in high school, or whatever, you were like, man, I might be able to do this beyond, what everybody else does?
I think for me, it probably hit my 16U year of ice hockey. It was one of those years where we had recently combined with a higher level team, and I was on the lower level team coming into it. And I think kind of just the development that I really made that year, leading all the way up to the championship game, where I would finish with 2 goals in a 3-2 double overtime win to secure our local championship. I think that was the moment for me where I kind of saw all the years of losses and hard work really come together and just see it all and be like, hey, this is something that I really enjoy and want to take with me for the rest of my life.
Yeah, that's great to hear, from all our Lost Tribe athletes. We love hearing about how they all got connected with us and how they connect with the Jewish community through their athletics. What we want to know is, what was the first moment that you really knew that you had what it takes, to be a special athlete, that you could really play at the next level?
Yeah, I think it's really just like, it's that first moment where you can just see all the hard work pay off and all the time you put in throughout your life. And then it's kind of when, for me, a lot of it, my talent, I'm a very humble guy, as my parents have told me. So for me, I don't think I ever truly realized it until I started reaching out to coaches and kind of went through that recruiting process, and they were all so interested and kind of ready to bring me along and kind of spoke highly of me was when it really hit me that, hey, I really have something good here. So I really need to take this opportunity and run with it and continue to work hard because my hard work is paying off and it's not going unnoticed.
Was there ever a moment in any practice or tryout that you had that you were just like, I am way, a cut above the rest here?
No, I think for me, it comes back to that humble piece. Like I'm just always ready to, I'm never looking at the guy that's behind me. I'm always looking at the guy that's in front of me. So there was never one of those moments. It was just kind of like I would go out there and say, hey, this guy's better than me now, but I don't want him to be there by the end of the season. I want to be better than him.
Yeah. The sports always gives us a lot of opportunity for like special moments. And, we have a large portion of our community from Pittsburgh. So the Tree of Life shooting, obviously important to Jewish people everywhere, but super important to people from Pittsburgh. And I know you had a little story about a connection there. So why don't you tell us that?
Yeah, so it was, I believe it was a few months after the shooting had recently occurred. My dad is friends with somebody who works for the Israeli Hockey Federation. And although a lot of the guys on the team come from Israel, they do have to bring in a couple American guys to kind of round out the team. So he reached out to my dad, hey, we're going to be putting together a game, one against the Duquesne Club hockey team, and then one against the Pittsburgh Penguins alumni. Would you want to play? So he obviously jumped on the opportunity.
Yeah.
And then he asked me if I wanted to come and be a part of the trip. And I said, absolutely. And I think this trip for me was the first time in my life that I truly realized that the impact of being Jewish has on a community and has on people. I mean, we took a random rink in Pittsburgh. I believe it was on a Friday night, and we packed the place. It was a bunch of Israeli hockey players playing Duquesne club hockey, and we were able to fill the stands simply because it was a fundraiser. And then the next day to wake up, go to Pittsburgh practice because they were kind enough to hold us there at practice. And then later that afternoon to again see a full NHL practice facility full of people coming together and supporting this tragedy that happened, I think is something that will stick with me for the rest of my life. And really kind of when I was ashamed to be Jewish, a lot of it kind of flipped in that moment and was kind of like, I have the opportunity here to be a part of something so much bigger than simply myself. And it's not something to be ashamed of whatsoever.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, for your dad to be invited to do something like that, he had to be a pretty decent hockey player as well.
So he would tell you he's not. He actually, a lot of these guys play in like pro hockey leagues and are currently, there's a bunch of them actually right now that I remember that he played with are currently playing in the IHF championship down in Croatia. So he was the fourth line guy that he nicknamed his line the breather line, so he could give all the better guys a rest. But it turns out he came out and he would score the first goal for the team. And it's just one of those experiences that whether he was on the first line or fourth line, he didn't care. He was just there for the experience that it's unbeatable. You can't beat it.
Well, and look, let's be real. On a championship team, everybody's got a good first line and second line. Okay, It's all about the fourth line winning it. That makes a difference. So
absolutely,
yeah, and everybody's got a role to play. Those fourth line guys, the breathers, so they're some of the most important guys on the team. So it's great to hear about your positive experiences surrounding Judaism and being an athlete in that experience with Team Israel. But we obviously all know that there's also a darker side to being, a Jew in professional sports. So have you ever experienced any anti-Semitism either inside or outside of like the playing field or of your sport?
Yeah, so inside the game, like during a game, I've never received any comments like that. And I think a lot of it comes down to not many people know I'm Jewish right off the bat. And at the time, it wasn't something I was really proud of sharing. So nobody really knew. But in school, when people found out, I would definitely get some teasing and some picking for it. And that's it affected me a lot. But eventually, I just built up the mental strength to realize, hey, it says more about the other person than it does about me at the end of the day. So now I kind of just take it and roll with the punches.
Yeah, and like you said, it's not something that's as clearly advertised, unless you got a Star of David around your neck on the rink or maybe a keep on your helmet. But Other than that, I mean, yeah, like you said, there's always going to be little bits of teasing and everything there. But Brian, you got, I think, a little change of pace here.
Well, Jesse, you definitely just like broke out our brand new, product line, which is Keepa's for ice hockey helmets, football helmets, whatever. So let's get to work on that.
Lost Tribe merch store. Yeah.
Exactly. All right, Zach. So, we like to ask our athletes and people around sports if you were able to have a walk-up song when you came out on the ice. In your case, or if you were a baseball player, obviously you would have 4 or 5 chances every game. What would your walk-up song be and why?
So for me, although it's not the most family-friendly choice, for me it would be "Dreams and Nightmares." It's one of those songs that, again, it was our song that 16U year. Every time when we'd leave the locker room, it would come on, and it's just that group of kids I played with are forever, like, they're forever my brothers. So it's just one of those things that if I had the chance, I'd go to that song every single time.
That's got to be in like the top 5 walk-up songs, I think, from what we've heard as well. And it's, for some reason, I was thinking of that song, when we were even asking this question. But it's a great choice. But we have an even more important question that we ask anybody we ever interview. It's the end-all be-all of being a Lost Tribe athlete, or really anybody on this show. Where do you fall on putting pineapple on pizza?
Every time I put pineapple on pizza, I will do it without fail. I've gotten a lot of hate for that over the years, but it's something I will do without fail.
Keep preaching.
I will not do it if it's canned pineapple, though. If it's canned pineapple, no way. It's got to be the fresh stuff.
Fresh only. Yeah, Jesse, I think now pineapple is like in the lead by 2 or 3, and on a little bit of a streak. Just saying.
Yeah, maybe I'll choose the next few people we interview. So
exactly. We'll see about it. Yeah, I'm prepping everybody. So we have a question from our number 1 Pass the Rock intern, Alpha Dog. How hard was the biggest check you ever had? And he has a follow-up, which is, what's your go-to team if you're going to play any of the NHL video games?
Okay, so the hardest hit I ever took, there's a video of it somewhere. It was the first game of my 18U year. I got caught in the slot with my head down, about to take a shot. I got hit so hard my stick got broken half. But I did still score the goal, and there's a video of it out there somewhere. I have never taken a hit so hard, but the fact that I scored just kind of made it a lot easier to get up from.
Yep.
But yeah, that was definitely the hardest hit. NHL team, it really depends. I like to play a lot with my brother. So it's kind of we usually just go randoms because, I don't want to pick a better team. He doesn't want to pick a better team, so we leave it up to chance most of the time.
Gotcha. Alpha says he likes to play with the Islanders, which, I know you're from Long Island, but you're a Rangers fan, right?
Yeah, I can't. I would never play with the Islanders. I've been a Rangers fan through and through because of my dad, and everybody always asks me, how are you from Long Island and you don't like the Islanders? Well, it's because my dad raised me from day one to be a Rangers fan.
Exactly. And that's
as you know, we feature on the Lost Tribe Friday Night Highlights every week. We feature a Lost Tribe athlete. I think we need to get that video of you taking that hit and scoring that goal. If it's out there somewhere, that needs to surface.
Well, Zach did our takeover last Friday, but I don't think he submitted that video.
No. I can try to find it. I know I think it might be in my camera roll on my phone. So I
might have to make a second appearance on Friday Night Highlights.
That's right.
For that video.
Exactly. Just a quick point of information. I once won the Stanley Cup with the Islanders in NHL 97, but that was before either of you were born. So let's move on. Let's talk some NHL. We have the playoffs going on. The best trophy in sports, which we don't have to dispute. What are your thoughts on the playoffs so far? What are you watching? I mean, obviously we know you're a Rangers fan, but
I think there's been a lot of key points that people have been hitting on all throughout the media. I think the first thing is the change in officiating that hits when the playoffs come. Yep. They're either letting a lot more go or they're letting a lot less go. I would say another thing is the score differential. You're not seeing those close 3-2, 4-3 games. I think it was last night Tampa won 7-3. You saw the Oilers win 8-0, but it's not like they're dominating 8-0 night in and night out. The series is still 2-2 now at the end of the day. So it's crazy how these teams are going from getting beat 8-0 to then winning. I think that's that's been crazy to see. And I think the quality of play has been probably one of the best we've seen, although it's these high score differentials, the team's getting beat and then again coming back the next night. So I think to see that is something we haven't seen in a while, where a lot of these games are going into game 4 tied up 2-2, all except for the Colorado series.
Yeah, it's hard to explain any of that, being a Leafs fan from Toronto after a 5-0 game 1, and then you lose basically 5-2 with an empty netter at the end, and then you win 5-2, and then you lose 7-3. It's like basically a 3-goal margin of victory in every game. Yet, like you said, it's 2-2. It's, as a hockey player, like, is that something you see more often, or like as opposed to all these close games decided by just 1 goal?
It's kind of hit or miss, honestly. Like for college here, we play a lot of 2-game sets, home and homes, 2 at their place, probably 2 at ours. And I mean, it can differentiate so much. I mean, especially in the playoffs, you get a lot of injuries. So maybe one guy gets injured and he doesn't play. So there's a lot of factors that go into it. But I think to see consistently the large margins is something you really don't see.
Yeah, one of the things I think is crazy about the NHL now, I grew up in New Orleans, so I didn't really pay attention until I was about 10 and ESPN used to show it. But I think more than any other sport, even if you have the top seed, it just seems like the series are always closer. Whereas in the NBA, you might have a top seed kind of blow out the 8 seed and move along. And my Calgary Flames are dealing with it right now. They won the Pacific. They're playing the Stars, who are a wild card team. They're down 2-1 going into game 4 tonight. What is it about the NHL that doesn't, that those top seeds just don't seem to have, other than Colorado, like you mentioned, that big advantage?
I think it's just right now there's so much skill in the league. It's not one team has 4 lines of superstars. All these teams have guys that night in and night out can score. I mean, you look at a team like Dallas, they have Jamie Benn, they have Tyler Seguin, they have Jason Robertson. They have these potential, 2 bona fide stars, and then they have a guy that at any moment could make that jump to a star. And I think that's what makes all these games so competitive, is that right now you're in this mix of kind of that older generation of guys while there's still so much new, good, young talent coming into the league.
Yeah, it's quite different than the NBA, I guess, where you would never see a team blow out someone and then the next night get blown out and then blow out someone. And then you would never see that. But also, I mean, like you said, hockey, the goals are worth so much more than in an NBA game, that if you get a couple hot streaks here, a power play there, we've been seeing a lot of penalty minutes so far in the playoffs as well, even though the games are being called a little differently. What we would love to know is, what is your NHL Stanley Cup final prediction at this point in time? And then Brian and I can share you ours.
So from my bracket, which I kind of take with a grain of salt now after seeing what Florida's been doing, I had Florida and Minnesota just because I think Minnesota bringing in Marc-Andre Fleury at the deadline while still having Cam Talbot, who's been on fire since they brought on Marc-Andre Fleury, I think that makes them a very scary team. But at this point in the East, I think it could come down to literally any team. I think anybody, if they get hot, can run through it and take it. And then I think Minnesota will just ultimately beat Colorado going into the conference, just because Minnesota has the goaltending on Colorado, especially now with Darcy Kemper taking the stick to the eye. You don't know what his timetable is. I think Minnesota has the goaltending to take it all the way.
And just a quick segue before, Jesse, you tell me who you pick. Hockey injuries are the absolute best in sports. He took a stick to the eye. It
went through his goalie face mask, hit him in the eyes. Crazy.
Yeah. Insane. All right, Jesse, what was your prediction?
My prediction was the Canada Cup, Leafs Oilers. I mean, the Leafs got off to a decent start there, and obviously that's 2-2. And then the Oilers scored 14 goals in 2 games, but they're also sitting at 2-2. They got shut out yesterday. So, like you said, all these series that you watch one night and you're the most excited you've ever been, and then you watch the next night and you're pretty disappointed. So the highs and lows of the Stanley Cup playoffs here. But yeah, Leafs Oilers. Brian, what was your pick?
I had Lightning Flames. Of course, I was being a homer with the Flames. I really think the Avalanche is the smart play, and they're the only team, like we said, is up 3-0. But that's what I had going into it. But the Flames better win Game 4 tonight because you can't go back home down 3-1. That's gonna be tough. So, but we will see. So awesome. Zach, thanks so much for joining us and talking a little hockey, talking a little Lost Tribe athletics. It was great to have you. And if you haven't checked out Zach's highlights, other than the one he decided to leave off, you can still check that out on our socials from when he took over last Friday.
Thank you guys for having me, and I'll try to get over that low light for you if you want to do a Friday night low lights.
Yeah,
let's remember you scored.
Yeah.
And now we're gonna bring another Zach onto the show. Lost Tribe's very own Zach Zeman. Welcome to the show.
Great to see you guys.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, a little background change. Nice.
There we go.
Just gotta switch up the Zach real quick.
That's right, professional operation here. So,
your camera's a little laggy, but that's okay.
Yep. Oh, Zach's, yeah,
yeah,
it is a little bit. All right, Jesse, take us away.
All right, so let's start with just a quick hit from the NFL. We saw that James Bradbury of the New York Giants was released today. Arguably was their top cornerback last season, is likely an all-pro level guy at some point. He's a very strong man-on-man cornerback. So odd that they would release him. I don't know what the whole story is there. I think that Zach heard some rumor about the Eagles maybe stealing him from their division rival. So Zach, do you have any news on the Bradbury front?
Yeah, I mean, all we really know is the release right now. I haven't seen anything else coming out of anywhere. I probably would have gotten a notification from somewhere being like, oh, he signed here. But, I mean, the Eagles were linked like a few weeks ago being like, hey, we want this cornerback. I mean, considering that the Eagles are a team that went for every big name you can think of under the sun and missed on every single one of them. Of course, they now have their guys from the draft and everything, but they didn't get anything to really help their secondary. So it makes a lot of sense to see Bradbury join the Eagles. Just a matter of time to see where he decides to go.
Hey, and as a Patriots fan, I know it's a homer pick, but we lost J.C. Jackson this offseason. Got reminded that Stephon Gilmore is no longer on the team as well, joining the Colts. So, I wouldn't mind Bill Belichick working his magic and seeing if he could get James Bradbury over to the New England secondary.
It makes a lot of sense for him to go literally anywhere that needs a cornerback.
Literally anywhere that is not the New York Giants makes a lot of sense.
Exactly.
And he'll get somewhere. I mean, it's amazing every year how you have players like this that just get cut and they're on the open market. And you'll have some, as we get beyond as well into the summer because of certain bonuses due or whatever. So would be a big pickup. Also in the NFL, the schedule release, I think, is Thursday. So start making your plans to see your favorite team on the road maybe this year. So I know the Saints are playing in London. I don't think I'll be able to make it across the pond for that. But
might be a little hard to get over there. They are finally sending Aaron Rodgers overseas, though.
Yep.
First time the Packers will be playing overseas in London, and I think I looked at the slate of schedules and I was like, these for London at least, I was like, these games don't look very interesting, but they are sending Aaron Rodgers over, so it kind of redeems the whole thing.
Yep.
So.
Well, and I saw they released that week 2 is going to have a Monday Night Football doubleheader. I don't know if they're also doing that in week 1 again, but so.
I did see the doubleheader. I know it's Titans against – I forget who the Titans are playing, but I know the first game is Titans and the second game is Vikings-Eagles.
Yeah. Oh, right.
I don't remember who the Vikings are playing, though. I want to say the Chiefs. I don't think it's the Chiefs, but a doubleheader Monday night is always a good time. And then also another part of the schedule release was that there's going to be a game in Germany this year.
Mm-hmm.
You guys saw that. I think that's going to be Tom Brady heading to Germany. It's going to be very interesting seeing how that pans out.
Yeah, Tom Brady could be the first player to win in 4 different countries because he's already won a Mexico game, obviously a U.S. game, and an England game. So,
wow. He really is the GOAT. He really is.
I think they're just playing there just to give him another accolade, which obviously Jesse's not going to stand in the way of. But so do you guys want to talk some NBA playoffs?
Let's do it.
Would love to.
Let's talk Warriors Grizzlies. So the first question, right there. Was it an intentional, swipe at an injury that went on in Game 3?
Hey, give me the floor. Honestly, I've been trying to find that clip, and I've been so busy recently, I haven't found the time. But I mean, here are the playoffs. It's really hard to tell if anything is intentional or not. I mean, we know in round one we had Pascal Siakam with the injury to Joel Embiid's face that's causing him to wear a mask. We know that wasn't necessarily intentional, but it still is having a lingering effect. We'll see if this Ja Morant injury has a lingering effect. I would say it probably isn't, really intentional, considering there's also a clip of Curry and Poole literally like slingshotting each other under the basket as part of a play, which I thought looked ridiculous, but also really cool because it was effective. I don't want to say that Jordan Poole's grab was intentional, but it is the NBA playoffs. You literally never know. It would just be really funny because of Steve Kerr's comments about, the unwritten code and everything just a few weeks ago. I forget what that exactly was in regards to at the moment.
It was like 2 games ago about Dylan Brooks.
Yeah.
Yes, it was Dylan
Game
Brooks.
1, yeah.
That wasn't 2 weeks ago. That was 2 games ago. That was maybe like a week ago at most. And he was all like, "Oh, Dylan Brooks, I can't believe he would do such a thing." And then you have Jordan Poole doing pretty much something in the similar realm of what Dylan Brooks did. So,
I'll let Jesse answer, but he definitely grabs his knee. Now, does he do it intentionally? There's no way you can tell if it's intentional, in my opinion. And I don't. It would shock me coming from the Warriors, a team that is, other than, I don't know. They're not a dirty team, I don't believe. And so it would really shock me if that was intentional, but it just didn't look right.
They were a dirty team when Zaza Pachulia was a Warrior.
Well,
yeah, he's long gone. I don't think it looked intentional.
I know he's long gone. It was really only him.
I mean, as much as I hate Zaza Pachulia, he's, part of the reason that Kawhi ended up a Raptor. So I'm not going to, talk too much about him.
He is.
But on the update of Ja Morant, as of the latest injury report, he is doubtful for tonight. Apparently, he was seen in shoot around wearing slippers, which is not super encouraging. If you've ever played basketball in slides, you never want to do that, especially with knees like that. So, given that the game's at 10 o'clock, we'll still wait to hear the official injury report. But right now, he's doubtful. The Grizzlies during the regular season were 20-5 without Ja Morant in the lineup. Tyus Jones is a tremendous backup point guard, but Ja Morant scored 47 in that Game 2 win. So I don't like their chances much tonight without him, given the fact that they got blown out by about 30 the other night. And the Warriors, I saw someone on Twitter said the Warriors sat up in their chair and muted their mic for that game. They were just going all in and playing no funny games, nothing. That slingshot play was out of this world had it actually led to an open 3, but no Ja Morant, no Grizzlies as of tonight. So if he doesn't go, it's looking like 3-1. And then I don't know if they rush him back for Game 5 or call it a season. I mean, Zach, what do you think about rushing back a superstar to try and save the series?
Well, in my own experience, it works wonders. I think, if I'm the Grizzlies, if I think that they have a legitimate shot of winning this series still, I'm bringing back Ja Morant with anything possible, because Tyus Jones, probably a great NBA player in his own right, is not Ja Morant. I did see on Twitter the other day that someone said that Ja Morant is Russell Westbrook with common sense. And I think that was a great analogy, because the more you think about it, the more it seems like...
Well, first of all, Russell Westbrook is an MVP of the league and had a Hall of Fame career. So
very well could be an MVP in the next 6
Oh, yeah.
seasons. Totally could see it. Ja Morant is a superstar already, and he's only going to go up, barring any injuries. But
Jesse just said he missed 25 regular season games, and now he's missing games in the playoffs. So,
and it's only year 3.
That's right. Okay. That's an issue.
Okay. All right. What MVP contender this year misses around 16 to 20 games a year, and then misses times in the postseason? MVP runner-up Joel Embiid this year. So I'm saying, Ja Morant,
I know saying that runner-up was probably tough on you.
Little tough hearing that today, but honestly, just knowing the media, I completely expect it to be runner-up this year. I mean, congratulations to Jokic for the back-to-back MVPs. He's a really good player in his own right. But back on, the Ja Morant Warriors Grizzlies series, if they don't win tonight, it's going to be really hard coming back against a Warriors team that has a lot of great experience. Still, Stephen Curry is on that team. Still, Stephen Curry is a great player. People still, I mean, of course, I'd say he regressed like a little bit this season, but people would still argue that he's a top 20 player in this league. I mean, it's going to be really hard to combat that Warriors team that has such good chemistry. If they win tonight, that'd be a miracle. And I think then, Ja Morant has to be brought back game 5 to give him a fighting chance for the rest of the series. But it's really an uphill battle with the Grizzlies here, just like it was for the Sixers, who were without Joel Embiid for the first half of the series.
Well, really quickly, before we move on to the next series and eventually get to talk about Philly, Jesse and I have been waiting to do this for several weeks now, so I'm going to do it. Here we go. That's a beautiful thing, isn't it?
That's beautiful.
The Miami Dolphins have signed Sony Michel. It's not really the breaking news that
That's what you used the first one for.
Well, it just came through. I had to do it. So
I see it.
I think that's up to like 7 running backs that the Dolphins have signed this offseason. But
what are they doing signing Sony Michel already with Raheem Mostert, Chase Edmonds? I mean, Raheem Mostert and Chase Edmonds also both missed like all of last season.
Right.
And Sony Michel was actually one of the greatest sub in for an injury guy at the end of the season. But they still also have Myles Gaskin plus like the other 3 running backs they had. Salvin Ahmed.
Yes.
Oh my
God.
Well, I mean, from all those names you listed off, it sounds like that Miami, like many other teams, is going to be going for a running back by committee kind of.
I want every part of that in fantasy.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Anyway, I just wanted to
back by committee, the new future.
Thank you so much, Aaron, for that graphic. It is a beautiful graphic, and I'm sure we'll get to use it again. So, let's go to Bucks Celtics. So, what do you do with this series? I mean, the Celtics played so well last series. The Bucks are still the Bucks. Jesse and I both picked them to win the East. It looked pretty good in Game 3. What do you think happens in Game 4, Zach? And moving forward in this series, you think it goes 7?
Isn't this game's in Milwaukee, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, it's gonna be really tough for the Celtics going forward. I should watch my words here because my girlfriend's dad is a Celtics fan. I don't want to get in too much trouble with him. It's gonna be really tough, especially with home court advantage right now in the Bucks' favor. I think if the Celtics don't pull it out tonight, and I think it's gonna be really hard to win tonight, but if they don't pull it out tonight, it's going to be hard to come back 3-1, but this Celtics team has proven that they can win in many, many, many scenarios. I think that this could very well go to 7, but the odds would definitely greatly improve if the Celtics can steal tonight's game in Milwaukee.
Yeah, and they're down 7 beginning of the second right now, 27-20 Bucks. So, Jesse,
doesn't help their chances.
You think this goes to 7?
I've got Milwaukee taking this one in, I think, 6. But, they were a missed layup away from going to overtime in Game 3. And they were seriously holding their own. I mean, I don't know if you saw the end of Game 3, but, with the free throw and then the 3 missed tip-ins, and then finally after the Hornets sounded, they get one in. But, I mean, shout out to Al Horford, first of all, for stepping up with, like, bucket after bucket in the fourth quarter of Game 3. He was keeping them in that game with Jason Tatum only scoring 10 points. And he's only ever done that 6 times in the playoffs. 5 were against Milwaukee over their series in 2018, 2019, and then this year. So just interesting to note that maybe they have his number somewhat defensively, and that other guys like Jaylen Brown, Al Horford are going to have to step up on the offensive end. Great to see Marcus Smart back out there, after he had to miss a little bit of time. But this could be a great series. I think this is like how last year the Bucks and the Nets had that terrific series that was basically kind of like, the Eastern Conference Final. And then, kind of this series is feeling a little like that as well. But I mean, I'm excited to see who comes outside of the other series in the Eastern Conference, which we should get a little bit excited to talk about. So we got the Dark Knight Rises. We got Embiid with the mask. They come back. They win Game 3. They come back again. and win Game 4, this time behind a vintage performance from Sir James Harden himself, after he got a lot of doubt after the round 1 series and just hadn't really had that 30-point playoff, performance with a bunch of threes, and he was hitting all kinds of shots, getting into the lane. He looked terrific. But shout out to Joel Embiid for playing 38 minutes last night. I mean, even he didn't have as, like stat padded of a game, but having him on the floor for that long, I know Zach couldn't have been happier, not having to have guys like DeAndre Jordan, and even him just having him there, he opens up so much opportunity for the rest of the team to flow. So shout out to him for really muscling up and getting on the court for like nearly 40 minutes after being diagnosed with a broken face and a concussion like a week ago. So this series 2-2, brand new series we got here. It looked like they were kind of dead in the water at first, down 2-0, but they really brought this back. We got Game 5 coming up. Zach, I'll give it to you first since you're the Sixers fan here. How you feeling? I guess a lot better than you probably were feeling this time.
Of course I feel a lot better, but I would like to, address the recent Miami woes that have been going on more than my own Sixers successes. Because, I mean, as much as we know that Joel Embiid was going to make an impact on this series, it's kind of bewildering seeing that Jimmy Butler dropped, I believe it was like 31 and then 40 points in the last 2 games, and they very much wasted those amazing performances. Jimmy Butler is doing phenomenal for the Miami Heat. He is dropping so many buckets. He just isn't getting any help whatsoever. Bam Adebayo is being locked up by Joel Embiid, but no one else is like there to step up. It's kind of crazy because, their shooting performance from 3 last night was ridiculously low, completely out of character for a team that used to be known for hitting their threes. Duncan Robinson has fallen off the face of the earth. I have no clue where he is.
He's not even in the rotation at this
He's
point.
not in the rotation.
He's just cashing checks.
Victor Oladipo is getting superstar whistles in 2022, which I think is the craziest part about this series, besides Duncan Robinson basically falling off the face of the earth. I mean, Miami is a really good team. I mean, they're definitely a team that runs almost like, as how I said, running back by committee. They're a team that runs every position by committee except for whatever Jimmy Butler's doing. They are a team that is extremely deep, and I'm really shocked that they've struggled this much. Game 3 was a 20-point loss for Miami, and this was Embiid had a double-double coming back off an injury. His timing was completely off. None of the Sixers truly stepped up in Game 3. That was you'd think that the Miami Heat would be more in that game, but no, they lost by 20.
Yeah,
they lost by 20 in that game. And then, of course, Game 4, James Harden pretty much is the guy that the Sixers wanted from day one, finally comes into his own, has a very, old school kind of feel. We'll see how
31, 9, and 7 will definitely do it.
Yeah.
James Harden scoring 31 will definitely win a game despite other struggles that will happen and despite Scott Foster being Scott Foster. But
yeah, if I could,
this Game 5 is going to really be the do or die for Miami. They're on their home court in front of their fans who show up at the second quarter of every game instead of being there right away. If you've noticed, I didn't know that, but I've noticed it every single game. But if Miami can't beat the Sixers on their own home court in Game 5, I would call this series right there. I think this series could totally go to 7, but Game 5 is going to be the most important game for both teams, especially for the Heat. If the Heat can't win at home, the series is over.
Right, and the Heat still have the home court advantage, right? It's 2-2.
They still do.
And every home team has won. So now's the time.
And that's why I think that this game 5 tomorrow night is going to be the most important game for the Miami Heat season, because the Sixers will have a chance at home again. But if Miami can't win at home tomorrow, their season's done.
Yeah, and this was 2 of the Podnas picks, 4 losses. We'll talk about the other 2 in a second. Because, granted, like you said, at the trade deadline, when the 76ers got Harden, and you were counting your Larry O'Brien trophies at that point, it was because of a game like Game 4, and that has not been the standard this playoff season. So I think that's why a lot of people were writing them off, including myself, saying the Heat were going to sweep. I thought Embiid would come back and have a pivotal role, but I just thought it was going to be too little too late at this point. But that is not what happened. Like you said, they lost by 20, or they beat the Heat by 20 in game 3, and then Harden goes off in game 4. So we're down to a 3-game series. It reminds me of some old school Eastern Conference playoff series where home court advantage was something that really mattered, and it's really mattering in this one. So you're right. The first away team to get a win is going to win this thing, but we'll see if it ends up happening. Mm-hmm. Let's move on to the Western Conference semifinal, the Suns and the Mavericks. The Mavs look like they had no life whatsoever, and the Suns were kind of rolling. The Suns had what I thought, as I gave Podna's picks, had their tough series against the Pelicans in the first round, and we're going to cruise in this one, and they don't. And now it's a 2-2 ball game. Chris Paul's family's getting harassed because, that's how Texas fans are. What's going on in this series, Jesse? I'll let you comment first.
Well, this series has just been such a roller coaster. I mean, especially watching Chris Paul. He had that. I know you remember that Game 6, 14 of 14. Stellar game. One of the most perfect playoff performances you will ever see. Yep. Followed it up by 2 strong games. I mean, they won game 2 by 20 points at least in that blowout. And then he follows it up with 2 of the worst playoff performances I've ever seen Chris Paul have. I mean, he had the 7 turnovers, 6 in the first half in game 3. And then he had, I believe, 4 fouls in the first half of game 4 and fouled out with basically the whole fourth quarter to go, and missed a lot of the third quarter as well. They had campaign in for, most of the second half, and that really hurt them. And just watching, I mean, first of all, some of the fouls that were being called on Chris Paul were ridiculous, including the 6th one. I didn't even think he was just standing like this playing defense to make sure he didn't get fouled. But then, obviously he goes out, the Mavs take over, and I mean, they were just shooting lights out. They hit over 20 threes in game 4, more than 10 threes more than the Suns had made. And a lot of that was from Dorian Finney-Smith hitting the 8 threes, and you got guys like Davis Bertans and Maxi Kleba hitting 4 or 5 threes a game. I mean, I guess at some point it's working. I'm just shocked. I had the Suns, I texted the group chat. I was like, how are the Mavs favorites right now?
Yeah.
And it turns out they were more than -1 favorites, winning double digits. And by the way, I don't think Phoenix has lost 3 straight times to anybody all year. So there's a lot on the line for game 5.
Yeah, honestly, I mean, Phoenix going into this season, going into this playoffs, they were my title favorites. Like, if you asked me to pick a team going into this playoffs, even going into the second round, I would have said the Suns are going to win the championship this year. They're going to get back. They're going to win the championship. But now there's suddenly a huge shadow of doubt right over them, especially because, this is a series where, both teams have won at home. And, if the Mavericks can steal one game in Phoenix, this could be the end of the Suns' run, and then I have no clue who's going to win the title. It could be anyone else. I don't have a pick after that. You could argue for every single team left that they could win the title if the Suns somehow lose this. Of course, we know Chris Paul has had a long history of coming up short in the playoffs, and I think we all really want him to just get one ring, just to have one on his resume.
Yeah.
And especially one he's actually contributing to so much.
Especially one he's contributing to, and he's still a very big contributor to this Phoenix team. Everyone thought he was going to be washed when he was, when he joined Phoenix, and he leads them to, a finals berth. So it's just crazy seeing them come in as title favorites this year. And now we're sitting here in a 2-2 series with the Dallas Mavericks, who I would never consider to be this close. You're telling me Dorian Finney-Smith is the guy who's putting away the Suns in, what was it, game 3 or game 4?
Yeah.
That doesn't matter what game. This is ridiculous. You have the coach of the year on your team. You have an elite backcourt. You have DeAndre Ayton down low, and you have plenty of depth to go around. And you're telling me they're struggling against the Dallas Mavericks?
Maybe we need an old guy rant graphic, because here's my deal with the Phoenix Suns.
The old guy rant, let's go.
If they would just focus on basketball and stop complaining about every single foul that's called. Jay Crowder, his basketball cards the rest of his career just need to be him whining with his mouth open. Obviously Chris Paul has done it his entire career. I already went on the rant about him elbowing Jose Alvarado in the face at a pivotal moment in Game 6, and now Devin Booker's starting to do it. I just can't stand watching. I was really rooting for them last year because I did want Chris Paul to get his championship. But the amount of time, and I know it's all over the NBA, I know LeBron does it, everybody does it, but I just cannot stand that team. You would think no foul will ever be called against them. That's my old guy rant. I want them to go down. I really don't want Dallas to beat them. But, if they get to play Golden State or Memphis, then I'm rooting for whoever wins that other series.
And to be fair, we did mention, the Dallas fans, with Chris Paul's wife and kids.
Mm-hmm.
This is Dallas fans. This is how Dallas fans are. We this is
Like
common knowledge.
fans.
I've known
Yep.
it. I've known this about Dallas fans. You guys are just starting to realize it. These are Dallas fans.
Well, the Philly fans fall asleep when they have front row tickets. So, I mean, you can't really say much about
Fun
them
fact,
either.
that is actually a local car dealer. Like, he owns a car dealership, like, in the area. Apparently, some people were on Twitter being like, oh, yeah, his commercial showed up right after he was shown on TV.
It was just awesome just to see that in the background.
It's very funny.
Maybe it was just a brilliant marketing move by this.
Brilliant marketing move. He was probably passed out, after drinking God knows what. So
all press is good press, so he got it.
All press is good press.
But awesome. So one quick last topic, a little baseball question real quick before we end. Madison Bumgarner got ejected the other day because he walked off the field after his half inning. His random, foreign substances check was being done by the umpires, and he got tossed. If you know it's a rule, if you know it's going to happen, how do you get tossed in that situation?
It's so crazy. The umpire did come out and apologize for what he did because it was just so.
He was mean mugging him pretty hard.
Yeah, he was. No. You look back at the video. You got Mad Bum looking at his hand like this. The umpire's holding his hand, just staring at his eyes. He was ready to throw him out regardless of what he said, regardless of what he did.
Maybe he was just trying to read him, see if he was hiding anything or if he was getting nervous.
The umpires are very lucky that they have a union to protect them, because if they didn't, there are some umpires that we would want, gone years ago.
Scott Foster.
Yeah. Cough. Angel Hernandez. We all know about Angel Hernandez.
Exactly.
I mean, speaking about that, the MLB has their own rating system for accuracy, and they have a larger margin of error than the actual strike zone that other unofficial sources have used. So while an Angel Hernandez game to many of us would have an 85% accuracy, to the MLB it's 96% accurate. Those are real numbers I saw on Twitter about a week or two ago, when that was right after the infamous, his calling of, I think it was Phillies Rockies, that game where everyone was like, he's doing bad with both teams. So that was when
at least he's even.
That's all I used to. That's all I ask as a little league coach.
At least
consistency.
He's consistently horrible.
As long as you're terrible for both sides, I can't really argue. I just look at the other manager and be like, all right, we're dealing with this tonight. So
I mean, you go back at the rant by Kyle Schwarber. There was a breakdown basically of what he said, and he was basically saying both sides all night you've been doing horrible for. So everyone knows that Angel Hernandez sucks, except for the MLB, who's just in their little bubble.
Yeah, that's right. Awesome. Well, Zach, thanks for joining us. I know Zach's going to be doing a bunch of stuff with us over the summer when Jesse goes on hiatus and all that. So thanks for being here, Jesse. As always, it's a blast. We got to interview a D1 hockey player, so sky's looking up.
Yeah, and I'm gonna enjoy every episode I can until that brief hiatus.
That's right. Awesome. All right. Thanks, everybody, and we will see you next week.